Jonathan Peele, I don't know if you have experienced the greatness that is the Squid Game.
Like
Um,
hentai?
but I will say, if you've not heard of this television show, one, you should watch it. Two, you might want to check your pulse because I think you're dead. Because I don't know an internet article, I don't know a video, I don't know any type of social media platform or posting that is not talking about this damn show.
It is
I got
cracking. It is on fleek, as the kids would say these days.
it is indeed bussin', as they say. I
App.
jumped on it. I'm one of those people who have like massive FOMO. So if there's like a huge show that's kind of like causing tremors around the pop culture zeitgeist, I tend to want to jump on it. I don't want to be that one
You got
guy
to
that
see what
has to
it's all
get.
about, right?
Yeah, yeah, got to see what it's all about. And it's also like there's a fear of missing out, but there's also the fear of being spoiled. Like so, fobs, I guess you got
Hmm.
FOMO and fobs, which was also one of the names that we were going to use for this YouTube show. FOMO and fobs coming at you.
I'm on vibes.
So, so yeah,
But yeah,
so
I have
it's
watched it actually there, Mr. travisbaum, and
as have I.
yeah, so I know that we said, hey, we've both seen it. We should definitely give this a whirl because yeah, it is blowing up online, man. It is everywhere. It is we're talking about it's like the best launch ever of like a Netflix series. That
Yeah,
this
it
is the
was
most
the most
watched here, Nielsen
successful.
rating. Like
Yeah,
it's
no,
like really huge, especially for
yeah,
like a Korean dub movie. It's
yeah, yeah.
wow,
Well,
really?
well,
This is the biggest
you know,
launch?
uh, with movies, getting a lot of love from the critical audience, like Parasite, which was a smash hit, Oscar
Hmm.
award-winning Korean film. And I think off the cusp of that, Netflix wanted to like, try their throw their hat into the Korean film ring, and I think it paid off because this was in such an experimental show. There are not very many networks or channels that have the balls to say, yeah, we're gonna put millions of dollars into this. It's weird. We don't know how people are gonna think, how people are gonna receive it, but they're going
Well,
for it.
let's
Like
give it a whirl.
props to fucking Netflix for putting this show out there. I think it was a huge risk, and I think we're going to see it pay off. And look, Squid Game is only going to get more and more famous. Like I cannot imagine what Halloween is going to look like.
Well, look
Like
what Mr.
you
Beast is
know,
doing right now. He's talking about if he gets enough likes on his page or whatever, that he's gonna, create a real life Squid Game. Is there gonna be death and dismay and dismemberment in it?
uh,
I kind of hope so, but I don't think so. But yeah, some kind of like big deal where certain people get selected to come play childhood games or some kind of contest for money or prizes or whatever. Yeah, I can definitely see it happening. I mean, look at stuff like American Ninja Warrior. Look at things like American Gladiator, stuff like that, where all these challenges and stuff. I mean, Legend of the Hidden Temple. All these things are a test of
not
skill
quite
and
as similar.
intelligence and endurance to gain prizes and prestige at the end of the event. So
Right.
yeah, I mean, it's been out there, man. But tell me, what was your thoughts on said Squid Games on
So
Netflix?
I was a little apprehensive. I don't have a deep history in foreign films or foreign TV shows and everything.
Mhm.
I think the show's going to change that. But I went in a little apprehensive because it's very, very weird. The trailer gives you just enough to kind of get an idea of what direction it's going in. I advise to not even watch a trailer though. And for all intents and purposes, folks, this is going to be a spoiler-free conversation. It's so new and so fresh. I don't think we have, unless we do a specific spoiler show. I think we need to be tight-lipped as possible for safety, because we want people to watch this show first. So going into it, like I said, apprehensive, but I think episode 1 does a good job of uh, presenting the themes that are going to be carrying the show, even though without like putting us in the thick of it right at the very right at the beginning. The show definitely takes its time to get into said games. But once it's there, it definitely hooks you in. And then very, very early on, after you're hooked, they kind of revert you. They mess with your expectations of the show, and they kind of revert you back into like the real world aspect of what's going on. Um, and I think the show is really good for that, because like once you get into the games, you want the games to keep going. You know, like if you're watching the Hunger Games and the kids get thrown into the fight and into the battle royale, you don't want then like 30 minutes of going back to like the Capitol and just hearing politics or something like that.
Yeah,
You
you
want
want
to
to see the
stay with the games.
games.
And this television show is not scared to like put a pause in the mayhem, because that's kind of what we're here for, right? We want to see how crazy it's going to get and how dangerous it's going to get. And they're not scared of like pumping the brakes and feeding you some other story in a different direction. So, but like you alluded to, like it's a really cool show. There's this game that's being played. These people are not necessarily, I don't want to say abducted, but they
No,
are
no, they sign
chosen.
up for this on their
Yeah,
own free
yeah,
will.
they're
Yeah,
they're chosen to jump into these games for the hopes of winning, a lot of money, because most of these people are chosen because they're down in their luck.
like
And
most people are. So it's
like most people are.
relatable to modern day society.
This show speaks to a lot of that, and it speaks to class warfare, the divide between the rich and the poor, and how wide that can be, and then how the people who are like super super rich can influence, how much they can influence the like lower income people or families and stuff like that. They really are not scared to discuss any of these things, taboo subjects, in the middle of this like batshit crazy set of games that are being played with people's lives on the line. It is an extremely, extremely intriguing show. I thought the characters were great. I like immediately, like I was sold on the main character, like super relatable, a little bit stereotypical with like his issues, deadbeat gambler,
Right.
deadbeat dad, things like that. But like, he's a complicated dude. And I think that what makes him so complicated ends up like carrying his character throughout the show and kind of keeping him grounded to like who he is and stuff like that, which I
Yeah,
think,
he becomes likable. You see his
yeah,
struggles, and then
yeah,
you root for him. You hate him at some times, but you feel
yeah.
like I
And
want overall for this guy to like pull it off, especially towards the end. It gets to
and
that
as
point where
good
you're
as
like, yeah,
and as good as
I
his
want this guy to
character,
make it happen.
and as good as that main character is, the rest of the characters, and if I have a gripe about the show, the rest of the characters are kind of like caricatures of other bad. There's one or two like other complex people, but like everyone else is like, you have your stereotypical gang leader, like he is clearly bad. He's here to do nothing but be bad and be a danger.
Prototypical.
Yeah, you have like your crazy, you have your Christian zealot, you have like all these different like archetypes, and they don't really progress that much throughout the show. They
Oh yeah,
stay
no.
who they are. But it doesn't mean that like when they go, you're like either like really happy or really, really sad, because there comes to a point where like you're not even halfway through with the games and you just want everyone else to survive. Like you just want everyone else to survive.
Like, yeah, can't
Um,
they all just like all split the winnings?
well, that's kind of brought up in like the writer of this TV show covered their bases, and they do have an option for everyone deciding to like, hey, we don't want to do this. Like they have options
Hey
out
man,
there. So
spoiler free though over here.
we're
At the
gonna go
Travis
spoiler
Show.
free. We're gonna go spoiler free. But overall, like I was extremely satisfied with the show. I think in terms of like having a solid start, middle, and end, I think the show has it. Great characters that you're rooting for, also great characters that you just want to get wiped out as fast as possible. And it's really good. And like there is like humor is subjective, especially based on different cultures and stuff like that. So there's stuff that like has a lot of dark humor that I was actually surprised that I caught in the show, because like if you watch something Japanese, what they think is funny might not necessarily be what American culture thinks funny. So it could like go right over our head. And I was actually surprised how well they And it could have been the localization when they were doing like the dubbing and the subtitles and stuff like that. Like they may have put a little extra money into it and actually kind of Americanize their lines, because translations aren't like, if it was a direct translation, the script would have been really really weird. So they have to localize it for because like they have phrases that we don't say, and we have phrases that they don't say, and they have to like make it more familiar to American audiences. So that's why they do localization. Um, and I will pass the baton back over to you, but I want to actually present a question since I'm here on the whole localization side of it. How did you watch it? Did you do the Korean language with the English subtitles, or did you do the English dub? Because I have thoughts on the English dub.
I did the English dub. I did not want to read the show. Um, with the baton passed to me, I'm going to give an unpopular opinion.
Okay.
I didn't like it that much.
You
I
didn't you
I
didn't like Squid Game.
the first couple of episodes, got me hooked. Like you said, they brought me in.
Mm.
Overall, this was an exaggerated version of The Most Dangerous Hunt. This is it's a short story about hunting men. Doing those kind of things.
Mm.
Uh, but yes, they draw the characters out, but all these characters have been seen before in a lot of things. I am a psychological thriller, horror, mystery type buff on movies, and I was really interested at first. And even with it being Korean and everything, kind of having to go through the dubs, not getting the true emotion what the actors were doing, everybody did a great job. I enjoyed all the aspects of it. I enjoyed the character driven storyline, what they tried to do with it, the different little nuances that they threw in. But ultimately, it was a story that has been told before. It's just in a different light and presented on a different platter. Not saying it was bad. I personally was just somewhat disappointed. I wanted something different at the end. I wanted some
Mm.
kind of pizzazz, something that wasn't predictable. And the last episode, there's a scene that happens outside the city. Like you see the snow coming down and all that kind of stuff. And I was just like, I knew this was coming. Like it was it was predictable to me towards the
Mm.
end, and it stopped throwing me any kind of curveballs, so it let me down. It built me up on something I thought was going to be really cool and interesting and done differently, but
Mm-hmm.
then it gave me the same tired old story. I'm not
Mm.
saying you shouldn't watch it. Definitely give it a whirl. It's a great, interesting show. It definitely keeps you wanting to watch each episode,
Sure.
but to me, it did not deliver in the end for what I was looking for in a very like unique storyline on this concept that's kind of been done several times over.
Right. Um,
Unpopular
to
opinion, I know.
to jump back, I did watch the dub. I tried with the I usually do go original language with the subtitles and everything, but I always like to try out the dub. Um, and I was actually kind of surprised. Usually, I'm not a huge fan. I come from an anime background, so like a lot of like anime and manga videos would be dubbed a lot of times, and I would always revert straight to the English, the original Japanese language with subtitles. But I was actually kind of, with the exception of one character who just aggravated the hell out of me. Um, the dub I thought was pretty good. I thought the dub
I think I know the
was
character too.
yeah, female character.
Mhm.
Yeah, just like the actress who did her, I guess, did well enough job to match the tone of the actual physical actress on screen, but just really aggravating. Very got a very big Rita Repulsa from Power Rangers vibe from her. It just drove me nuts.
Watch my
Um,
monster grow.
yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. But I so where did that's fair. Like there's some parts of the narrative that you thought that were predictable. So I get that. But like, what did you think of like the games itself? Because that's what people come for. Like the games.
Um, I thought it was a
You didn't get to.
juvenile and softened down version of Saw. Like I wanted a little bit more. I wanted something, like I said,
You
something
didn't
that's gonna
find those
really
tense.
take
You
it to
didn't
the
find
next
those
level.
endearing.
Um,
Like.
the bridge game, the bridge game was probably the coolest part to me overall. I really did like the bridge game.
I'm
So,
interested in what you're
um,
looking for because I felt like the marble game would have been like one of the most hard hitting. That was one of the most
That was
uncomfortable
endearing. It was an
scenes.
endearing game. It
That
was
was that was brutal.
all
Like of
those.
all the, you have these multitude of games that are just like physically brutal, and then there's this one game here that was just by and large pure agony, because the way they picked the game, everyone else would kind of agree, like they would probably pick their role in that game the same exact way, and for that game to be what it was is just absolutely brutal. And I think they do a really good job of like there's a certain point when they're playing the games where at one point they are just happy to have made it through, but after that game it's like everyone was different. That game changed everybody.
Oh yeah, I
Like
mean that was the
some
like
more
climax
so.
part. At the end of like Act 2, going into Act 3, this was
Yeah, just
the
brutal.
the characters changing and seeing a different light and kind of having that doubt on what they're supposed to do right before they
Yeah,
went into that third act and
it's
final.
it, it's nuts. So I am sad that that you didn't enjoy it as much.
I need something a little more brutal, a little more intense to really like grind my gears. Because this was just, like I said, I've seen it before, done several different ways. It was a cool take,
Yeah.
very interesting. Just like I said, didn't give that final blow that made this like, oh man, this was really cool. It just, it was there. It ended. Okay, cool.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So we have two thumbs up, and then we got like a little meh, two mehs, not up, not down. Meh. All right. Well, that's gonna be it for us for Squid Games. You know what? You check out the show. You tell us what you think, and we would love to hear your feedback. But other than that, take care, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good one, and peace out.